We'll stay on the defense side of the ball, but move to a different spot. That's Derek Stingley.
I knew you were. I was just thinking about that. I actually think, and I just did a Giants mock draft. I had them draft Stingley. If you guys know, and Charlie and Dylan, you know this, I thought this guy could be drafted as a freshman. And again, it actually in some weird way has kind of, bit him in the butt, like, because he's gotten not worse, but since 2019, he hasn't reached that level yet. And again, injury in 2020 was out of the season. This year LSU were awful, like in terms of talent, they were terrible. But again, there hasn't been a lot of film, and I would actually say he's underrated. I think, again, this is a take, but I think we were talking about this just for a record. I think this guy could be one of, if not the best cornerback to ever play in the National Football League, or one of the best to do it. I won't say the best to do it. I don't think you can say that. But I think that's one of the very few things analysts can't say. That's, off
of
limits.
A draft
But
player,
yeah, but no, I think he could be fantastic. And I think, barring he stays injury free, that I think that's the whole, and it's so unfortunate for players like that. And you see it all the time for elite players who unfortunately just get injured a lot. You see that in the NBA, you see it in NFL, you see it across all sports. But again, looking at this guy's film when he was a freshman, his tape is ridiculous. In terms of in coverage and, being sticky in man coverage, there's no one who can get better at it. And I think the only problem people are seeing, he's a little bit jumpy in zone. He passes off man sometime, and when he doesn't have a safety behind him, but in man coverage, he will go into the league. And in terms of raw ability, he will go into the league as one of the best man cover guys. Again, can he do in the game? Maybe not. But in terms of like literally the ability to cover a receiver across from him, it doesn't get much better than him in the nation. And again, I think we've seen Sauce Gardner kind of rise above him. And I'm even a one of those guys who has put Sauce Gardner a little bit above him. But I think Derek Stingley, had he stayed healthy, I think this guy could have been, the number one overall pick as a corner. Yeah. I think the talent and potential this guy has is sky high. So I think in terms of where he's been mocked, I think he's underrated. But I say he's on that fine line of fairly rated and underrated.
Media coverage, I'm not quite certain. It's tough. I know for sure that if I'm a team, I'm taking Ahmad Gardner over Derek Stingley. I know that I might even be considering taking an Andrew Booth over Derek Stingley, because the most important ability is availability. And he has not been able to prove that he's able to stay on the field. He has not lived up to his 2019 stock. And quite frankly, I've seen him get burnt a couple too many times to be able to class him as the best cornerback in college football. I'm going to go with overrated, and it is no disrespect to Derek Stingley. I think he's an excellent player, but where you do see that 2019 tape where you do see him locking up quality receivers, you could also go and search up his game against CeeDee Lamb, his game against Devontae Smith, his game against receivers that are in the NFL in this current day, and you can see him get burnt. And then from that day on, he hasn't quite lived up to his 2019 name, injured a lot this season, not a lot of tape on him, didn't get to evaluate him much. And there's hype about him over the pro day, and which I am saying it again, everybody plays well at their pro day. They don't matter. And I think just a little bit overrated.
So I'm going to have to agree with Keon on this one. And here's why. I don't think that he as a player is necessarily being super underrated right now, but I think that when he's being compared to other prospects in this class, that's where he's being underrated.
Yeah.
He's a 6-foot corner, so he's got good size, and he runs a sub 4.40. That is raw speed. And despite all that ball skills, his ability to cover anybody in man coverage, on NFL, he's rated a 6.5. as a prospect, which puts him in the category of boomer bust potential.
Yeah.
Now,
I think that's accurate.
Now, here's the thing. There are two corners rated higher than he is. That's Sauce Gardner, who, no disrespect to Sauce Gardner, he's a great player, who's rated at 6.72, which is a year one starter. Now, I don't see how Derek Stingley's not in the year one.
No, of course he's going to be a year one starter.
And Trent McDuffie.
No.
At 6.7. Now, how are you going to put Trent McDuffie at 6.7? That's year one starter. And then Derek Stingley, not in the year one starter category, at 6.5. I'm sorry, I have to say underrated based on that. I think Derek Stingley has the potential to be one of the best corners in the league. I think he could be I think
I think
if
he
I had
could
to
be the best
compare him
corner in the league.
to, I think if you had to compare him to a current day NFL corner, maybe Stephon Gilmore.
Well, if I'm looking at only the next gen rankings, then of course I'm going to say underrated. But there's a lot of other news outlets that are having him higher rated.
Okay, but just watch his highlight tape. Just watch his.
There's not enough highlight tape of him recently.
I think I agree with Dylan. I don't think there's enough tape yet. And Charlie, I think that's one of the, you can't argue against that. Like there is.
No, it's a clear downside. Injury is bad. It's not, you don't want to draft a player who you think will get injured or who you are having to hope won't get injured. But I think that Derek Stingley is the only generational talent in this class.
I think him and Tyler
Linderbaum.
I don't think Linderbaum's generational in the same way.
You don't see a center coming out of
well, let's not get off topic. But
it's not the same. And
I think like Charlie, Dylan, the talent is right.
It's just he could, if he was not injury prone, he'd be the number one pick in this draft.
Oh yeah, like far and away the number.
I think I agree with you.
I think he should still be a top 3 to 5 pick. Because if Jeff Okudah is able to win himself the number 3 pick,
right.
Like jury's still out on Jeff Okudah, by the way. I still think he's going to be good.
No, I think he still could be very good. But the fact that Sauce Gardner, no shade to Sauce Gardner, he's a great player, but the fact that he's being mocked higher than Derek Stingley right now just doesn't sit right with me. He's a great player. He's a great player. I'd be happy. Any team with Sauce Gardner would be happy. But Derek Stingley, if he lives up to his potential, will be far and away the best pick in this class, far and away the best pick of this 5-year period. It's Stingley
if he lands. Yeah.
If he pans out, he goes to the Hall of Fame. And that's not something that most players.
I don't find myself, besides maybe him and Trevor Lawrence. But Trevor Lawrence is hard because it's quarterback. You can't say he'll be the best quarterback ever because that's like nearly impossible.
There's so many.
Cornerback wise, Derek Stingley can be. I mean, I
think it'll be hard to pass prime time, but
but I'm saying,
but he will be up there with
maybe
the
in the if you want to define the modern era, whatever. Like I think Derek Stingley
Richard
has
Sherman.
it all. Yeah, something like exactly.
If he pans out, he will be up there with the greats. That's all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think he's.
I will say this. I agree with both of you. I think you can very feasibly argue, I don't know if that makes sense, that he is underrated and overrated. I think there are arguments for both. So I do think, that's one of the things where the media, there's definitely several takes you can have on Stingley. I think no one will deny, Dylan, even though you have him overrated, the talent he will bring.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. No, I would be very happy if he got at 7. I think you just can't pass up a player with that talent, even for injury.